Welcome to the Lotus Sutra Lab, and I have a question for you. Let's imagine this. What if you belong to a Buddhist community that is a group of your mentors and friends who inspire one another to learn Buddhism together? And what's unique about this practice and group is that everybody has a practical goal of applying what they learned from Buddhism into their everyday life situations in order to make their personal life more meaningful, to build a better relationship with people around them, and to produce positive changes in our society. Would you be interested in having a taste of that kind of experience? If your answer is yes, this is great news because you are an inch away from that kind of experience, because you are invited to join my Lotus Sutra Lab discussion group that is taken online, hosted by Rissho Kosei-kai Chicago, my Buddhist community. As of April 2022, we meet twice a month, first and third Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:05 p.m. Central Standard Time. Members of my community, friends, visitors, and some of the viewers of this channel have joined. If you're interested, please email us for Zoom link and reading at rkchicago@rkchi.org. In each meeting, we use this threefold Lotus Sutra and 10-volume commentary to the Lotus Sutra written by Nikkyo Niwano, who is the founder of Rissho Kosei-kai Buddhism. What is unique about his commentary is that he talks about the oneness of truth that is universally shared in all spiritual and religious traditions from the viewpoint of the philosophy of the Lotus Sutra. So participants often find it fascinating because many of them have a monotheistic background from their upbringing prior to becoming a Buddhist. What I personally love about his commentary is analogies he uses, which are very practical and applicable to a variety of issues, happening in our society and in my personal life as well. So if you want to go beyond just learning Buddhism from the text and transforming your everyday life into the site of Buddhist practice, the Lotus Sutra Lab is a perfect place for you. In the first 30 minutes of this video, which is a recording of our latest session, I will explain the purpose of this meeting, and then we'll do a self-introduction, and then we will start discussing the chapter 11 of the Lotus Sutra. As you watch the conversation, I want you to imagine and ask yourself, how would your life look like if you were among these folks and joining the conversation every month? How would that enrich your life and your relationship with others? And in another note, last week I changed the name of this channel from the Lotus Sutra How to Study Practice in Buddhism to the Lotus Sutra Lab. So the idea of lab is to say that Buddhism is not yet complete. In other words, the Buddhism is a tradition that is ever growing. That is why your participation in our conversation in the Lotus Sutra Lab is crucial. So we together experiment and create new pages of Buddhism that works today. So that's the idea of lab. With that note, now let's enjoy the conversation. Thank you, Stephanie, and welcome, Eli. Let me talk a little bit about Rissho Kosei-kai, just a little bit, and then we'll do go around the room and do a sort of introduction. So every time we have new friends, that enriches our conversation, because what makes our conversation meaningful is each one of our perspectives that are sometimes similar, that are sometimes same, sometimes very different. And encounter with the sameness and the differences at the same time is how we, all of us, broaden our perspectives together, and together become someone who can embrace ourselves and understand others around us in our everyday life. So in this Lotus Sutra Lab sessions, people speak, listen, remain silent type of things, and all modes of participations are very much welcome. The goal of our Buddhism is practical dimension that is always driven by a question. I mean, Rissho Kosei-kai's unique aspect, I think, is a practical application of Buddhist teachings, and always learning and practice is driven by the following question, which is to say, how can we transform our everyday life into Buddhist practice, transforming our everyday life into Buddhist practice, rather than just going to some meditation hall and doing meditation. We don't deny that, but in addition to that, every single moment of our everyday life, how can we transform that into Buddhist practice? That's the goal of Rissho Kosei-kai's learning and practice. So that means, so for instance, like, what are some examples, right? So how you spend your time at home, how to arrange your furniture in your room, where and how to buy or attain furniture, what kind of text messages you send and respond to your friends, how to charcoal grill fish, steak or marshmallows, or how to heat up a bag of popcorns before you start watching your favorite TV shows 3 minutes before that, or something like that. How to fold your clothes after, getting out of the laundry machine and dryer and so on. How to close the bedroom door, how to respond to a dangerous driver on the highways who got really close to you. That always scares me. How to taste a cup of coffee, how to listen to your friend's anxiety, how to relate to your past traumatic experience, and how to make sense of that difficult past, and so on. So all of these are just examples, and all of them are the sites of our Buddhist practice. Some people in Rissho Kosei take Buddhism as a religion. Some people take it as a philosophy of life. Some take it as spirituality tradition. All of them are okay. So the important thing is that you find, and also some are non-Buddhist. Some have a religious affiliation with other spiritual religious groups. Like we have John Coffey here. John is a minister in the Unitarian Universalist faith, who is a longtime friend. Like, Eli, you, and Stephanie, and Unitarian Universalists, and Rissho Kosei-kai have been a good friend like that too. So the important thing is that each of us finds the most making sense way of learning and practicing Buddhism in our own ways by enjoying the learning and practice of Rissho Kosei-kai. That's what we offer. So, as you see in a group in the room right now, we are all mentors, a group of mentors for each one of us. We help one another. So, in the Lotus Sutra lab, what is special about this Lotus Sutra lab is, like, unlike college or grad school lecture styles, our learning tends to be like more conversational, and it oftentimes includes stories of Buddhist practice of each other. So that's why how we sort of practically read, the Buddhist text, which is the central text we read in the Rissho Kosei-kai is the Buddhist text called Lotus Sutra. If you're new to Buddhism, Buddhist texts are more than 80,000 scriptures. So why the Lotus Sutra? Well, the Lotus Sutra, it's not really claiming any truth, but it's sort of claiming the truth about all different truth. So this is the sutra. What is special about this sutra, Buddhist scripture, is that this is how we make sense of the diversity of perspectives. Right? So it's not the denial of diversity, denial of the differences, but rather than how to embrace paradoxical differences as one single coherence. That's where the peaceful aspect philosophy of the Lotus Sutra kicks in, and Rissho Kosei-kai is engaging with giving relief fund to those who are suffering directly affected by, for instance, the recent ongoing Ukrainian-Russian crisis and so on. So Lotus Sutra is the spiritual foundation for the learning and practice of Rissho Kosei-kai. But the text itself is 400 pages, and it's very difficult, something like a hyperbolic, and also redundancy everywhere. So founder Rissho Kosei-kai, a Japanese religious leader, Reverend Nikkyo Niwano, who wrote a very useful practical commentary to this 400-page long Lotus Sutra. So that's the commentary that we will be reading and thinking about and conversing about in the Lotus Sutra lab. Okay, with that in mind, let's do a self-introduction. Let's go around the room. Okay, so as I see, let's start with Koji, Jen, Stephanie, John, Bill, Marguerite, Chris, Lynn, Reggie, and Emily. Okay, my name is Kyohei. I'm on the staff of Rissho Kosei-kai. And let me, maybe name and who you are. Let's start with that. Okay, can I hear from you, Koji?
Okay, my name is Koji Kosaka. Actually, I'm from Japan. I live in Chicago. I'm in Evanston. I'm with Rissho Kosei-kai 30 years, about 30 years. I come, nice to meet you. Maybe Jen?
Yeah, Jen and Marguerite, Bill, John. Yeah, Jen.
Hello, my name is Jen. I am from Chicago and born and raised here in Chicago. I've been with Rissho Kosei-kai for about 6 years, I think, now. And I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Marguerite.
Hello, I'm from Glenview, Illinois, and I've been with Rissho Kosei-kai about 10 years.
Bill.
Good evening. My name is Bill. I live in the western suburbs of Chicago. I had an event yesterday at work where I had to give a presentation with a customer, and my microphone wasn't working at work. So I had to call in to the Microsoft Teams meeting on my phone at my computer and still try to manage my computer. So that was interesting. So I can feel what you're going through right now with your microphone not working. But I've been with Rissho Kosei-kai for a little over a year now. And I really enjoy the conversations that we have at the Lotus Sutra Labs and all of the conversations around Buddhism with these people. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. John?
I am John Coffey. I'm based in Knoxville, Tennessee. I met Kyohei through the school where I work, Meadville Lombard Theological School, which is a Unitarian Universalist school. I'm also a Unitarian Universalist minister. I've known about Rissho Kosei-kai for a number of years now, but been a member or an attendee of Lotus Sutra Lab for about 2 months. So not very long. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So let me send you on the Zoom chat about the UUA Unitarian Universalist Association link so that anyone interested in can check it out. Okay, so Stephanie, Chris, Lynn. Okay, Stephanie.
Hello, everybody. I'm Stephanie. I started going to Rissho Kosei-kai in San Antonio, but kind of traveled around a bit for the last few years, and now I come to events in Chicago and Arkina, which is the international one, where Reverend Yoshizawa works. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just grateful that you guys are here tonight.
You're right. So Arkina offers a variety of programs, and those who are new to Rissho Kosei-kai may be able to benefit a lot to know about Rissho Kosei-kai and the community. You're right. So let me send the link as well. How do I do that? Chris?
Sorry, I just had a cat lose its dinner behind me. Story of my life. I'm Chris. I live about an hour south of Chicago. I actually think this might be my 1-year anniversary of coming to the labs. Because you figure we met at the end of March of last year, Kyohei.
That's right. Japanese markets, Mitsuwa, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure this is the 1-year anniversary to me coming to the labs. I've been pretty consistent for the last year. Missed a couple here and there, but
right.
Recovering pagan, Catholic. I've had a whole slew of spiritual type experiences in the last year since joining this group and, re-embracing meditation and prayer and things like that. So it's definitely moved me in the right direction.
Glad you're here today. Lynn? Lynn, can you unmute and introduce yourself?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
In Arlington Heights. I've been going to the Chicago branch of RKK. And I'm not sure how long. Marguerite says 10, she's been there 10 years. And I think I've been there longer, but she was there before me. Anyway, that's beside the point.
Thank you. Reggie?
Hello, my name is Reggie Harris. I stay in Arlington Heights as well. I happened upon Rissho Kosei-kai back in 2013. I recently started coming back around again a few months ago. Kind of met Kyohei through his YouTube videos. Big YouTuber here, so I like to watch a lot of spiritual and or intellectual stuff on YouTube and funny videos too, occasionally. So yeah, I've practiced Buddhism for probably really since 2007, on and off, meditation, different traditions, and Rissho Kosei-kai has always been a delightful part of my life. It's becoming more so, even more so now. So yeah, so I wouldn't say, I don't know how many, I can't like put a number to how long I've known about Rissho Kosei-kai since, so that's probably about 9 years, I guess, right? So, but I haven't participated in all activities, but I am coming out to the Lotus Lab, and I enjoy the discussions here. And I feel like, just like how Kyohei was saying, meditation is delightful, and I do love, you know, recitation, meditation, things like that. But having a community of individuals that you can share your personal life experiences with and application of the teachings, I find very beneficial, especially, you know, when you work with people on a daily basis who are challenging, you know, coworkers and clients. They can be very challenging. So yeah, Rissho Kosei-kai, I really do enjoy the format of the person-to-person connection that I get from talking with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Reggie gave a presentation 2 sessions ago, and that was excellent. In May meetings and the latter half of the April meetings, if anyone wants to do some volunteering or leading a discussion, please let me know anytime. I always appreciate that. Lastly, my wife, Emily.
Hi, good evening. I'm happy to see you all. I'm Emily, and I live in Palatine. So I have 2 sons. Recently, they go to school, the nearby school, and the school bus pick up them in the morning at 7 a.m. It was a little bit earlier than before, so I try to make them sleep early recently. So I will come back after I made them, after I success, if I success, make them sleep early. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you for letting me do this. Thank you. Okay. Eli, if you can type up a little bit more about yourself, if you have any particular questions or interest in Buddhism, or if there's anything that you are looking forward to in this meeting, or things you're willing to check out in this meeting, please let us know and type up anything in the chat box, and I will try to refer to that comments from you. Thank you, everybody, and welcome, Eli, again. With that note, let's start our PDF file. So Bill raised a question about merit, spiritual merit. What is it? That's a question that we will come back to. If you can open up the page 18, we probably will finish this chapter today. I mean, we've been taking like 4 months, 5 months for this chapter, 24-page document. We're doing a very close reading. Okay, and in the middle of PDF page 18, that's where the text says, this Buddha abundant treasures who abides in the precious stupa. Okay, this is the passage that we start with today. So in the Lotus Sutra, how many chapters does it have? 28 chapters plus 3 opening chapters and then 1 ending chapter. So the 28 plus 4, so 32 entire chapter, threefold Lotus Sutra, right? But in the middle part is the 28 chapters. First 3 chapters is the opening sutra, sort of the, the prelude, and the last one is a closing chapter, the sutra. In the middle is the Lotus Sutra itself. So the opening part, in the middle part, 28 chapters, and the last part, that's a threefold. That's why it's called threefold Lotus Sutra. So we are at the page, chapter 11 now. So let's review maybe in a crash course in the Lotus Sutra during the last 1 minute. Let me time myself. Okay. What happens up to chapter 11? Well, basically this. Here's a setup. Shakyamuni Buddha, who was a historical figure who got enlightened, was born as a human 2,500 years ago in India, having an audience more than 40 or 80,000 people. Up to chapter 10 from 1, people were like, we are worried about our practices. I'm not really sure where it's going. So lots and lots of anxieties. And that's how the sutra starts. And chapter 2, Buddha teaches that, well, that anxiety is an expression of your Buddhahood. And everybody becomes, what is that? Whoa, wait, oh, okay. And then people start to understand that. I mean, that sounds like enigmatic. So let's read chapter 2 if you're interested in sutra. And then the conversion from the anxiety into joy. That's what's happening from chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, 4, 5, up to 10. And at the point of 10, okay, Buddha says, now, I'm sorry, it's over 1 minute right now, 1 minute and 10 seconds. Chapter 10 of the Lotus Sutra, okay, everybody, now you got the truth. So you started with anxiety about your life, grew that into joy. Let's further grow that into joy by sharing with others. That's how the chapter 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, blah, 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 goes on. That's what we're doing right now. That is why in chapter 10 of the Lotus Sutra, as Chris Ryan oftentimes quotes for us, there is a so-called fivefold practice of the Dharma teachers, bodhisattvas. What is a fivefold? To receive and embrace, read and recite. I don't know how to say in English. But basically, embracing and receiving, reciting, memorizing, and spreading, expounding, and copying the sutra, these fivefold. Basically, your internal spiritual everyday practice, recitation, learning the sutra, and expounding, share that what you learned in your own words with others. Not just to share what you learned in Buddhism for the sake of yourself, but whenever you see your friends and families and coworkers in your office and so on seem to be in need of starting that kind of conversation for their spiritual liberation. Spiritual liberation, not a big deal. Like, oh my gosh, right? Your colleague made a mistake and everybody accuses of her or him. How do you approach that colleague? You're kind of half angry. Oh my gosh, oh my Buddha, that person made that again. But as a Buddhist, how do you transform that encounter into your Buddhist practice? That's part of the Bodhisattva practice that is expounded, that is explained in chapter 10. So when it comes to chapter 11, Shakyamuni Buddha asked the audience, after I pass away, I'm already 85 or 80 years old. who volunteers to teach and spread these teachings to the entire world? That's where the scene is in chapter 11. And according to up to the meetings up to today, over the last few months or so, we've been talking about the word thusness. This is a Buddhist specific term, thusness. Symbol of truth, thusness. If you search that, that appears a lot in Google. It's Google search engines. The truth as represented in the Lotus Sutra is the truth as expressed in the form of Unitarian Universalism, Christianity, Catholic, Protestant, both, other religious traditions, spiritual traditions, Taoism, Zhuangzi, Zoroastrianism, and so on. The oneness of the truth are shared, but the form of their expressions are different. That's what Rissho Kosei-kai's approach to the diversity of religious traditions. And this thusness is a truth itself, which is the oneness, coherence of all different traditions. And the sutra is saying that, according to Founder Nikkei 1 of Rissho Kosei-kai, this thusness, truth, cannot be expressed, cannot be enjoyed by us, by people in the world, unless we put that into action. So that's why each one of us learning and practicing what we are learning in our very everyday life matters so much. That's the direction where we're going today, right? Like Richard was saying earlier, in a co-worker situation and so on. So he already has a sense of, okay, how can I practice Buddhism in this particular situation with the co-worker? Without that kind of sense, that mental orientation wouldn't be happening. So that proves that Rich is already in the mode of practicing that teaching into his everyday life. As Bill and Jen shared last Sunday, they're both demonstrating that, and hearing your stories of everyday practice in the Lotus Sutra Lab and Sunday services and so on also demonstrates that. That's how we tell our stories of Buddhist practice and support one another. Because to me, for instance, if I were missing you guys and just practicing learning Buddhism on my own, I mean, I'm at the the university grad school right now studying Lotus Sutra, but that's different from conversing this type of conversation with you and being inspired and being reminded after the meeting when I, my kids are getting grumpy and I'm about to get, how to say in English, get pissed off. Is that the equivalent of saying being angry in a more casual way? Pissed off, right? I mean, every time I use slang, that's dangerous. As a foreigner, it's hard to, be precise. So if you feel you're, confident using slang language, I always welcome your inputs anytime, okay? Either in chat box or speaking, unmuting yourself. So that's how sort of the orientation of conversation that we're having in chapter 11 of Lotus Sutra. So if you have a copy of this one or the other one, other translation in the Lotus Sutra, if you have this copy, published by Rissho Kosei-kai 2019, let's open up the page 225, and you will see this is 2 pages before the end of the sutra. So we are very close. At the bottom of the page, if you don't have a copy, that's okay. I just read it aloud for you. If you have a different translation, that's okay. Let's use that your own. So the end of chapter 11. This is the passage we will start today. We are starting today. Shakyamuni says, this Buddha abundant treasures, who appears, in a huge stupa that came out of the earth all of a sudden. That's kind of the Star Wars, like the Buddhist sci-fi scene. That's kind of the Lotus Sutra thing, right? 2,500 years ago, Buddhist sci-fi would look like this. So the Buddha abundant treasures, this is an ancient old dead Buddha, supposedly comes back when Shakyamuni Buddha preaches the Lotus Sutra. So this Buddha abundant treasures abides in the jeweled stupa and always travels throughout the 10 directions for the sake of this sutra. They have already paid homage to all of my emanated Buddhas who have come here, who adorn and make resplendent so many and various worlds. Next page 226. Those who expound this sutra will thereby see me, the Tathagata abundant treasures, and also the emanated Buddhas. My good children, each of you should carefully ponder this matter, for this is a difficult task that requires making the great vow. That's what the Shakyamuni says. And that is followed by this sort of so-called 6 difficulties and 9 easy practices. It's going to be shown immediately after this passage that we will take a probably look into today. Okay, let's take a look at the commentary by Founder Wano on page 18. Well, let's go to the page actually. Well, actually, let's read on the sutra. So what kind of difficulties or easy practices is the sutra talking about? Why is that difficult to spread the words about the Lotus Sutra? Well, according to the sutra, the sutra uses these analogies. I don't know. Let me know how it sounds to you. I found it very strange. Okay, ready? Okay, let's go. It says, wait, page 226, right? Okay. There's a difficult task that requires making a great vow, the Bodhisattva vow. Okay, what are the difficulties and easiness? Though the easy practice number one, 9 easy practices, 6 difficult practices, right? 9 easy practice. Number 1, though the various other sutras are as numerous as the sands of the Ganges, expounding them all would not be difficult. That'll be difficult, right? Easy practice number 2, to grab Mount Sumeru and hurl it to another region, innumerable Buddha lands away, would still not be difficult. What? That'd be difficult. Throwing a mountain into another land? Well, Mount Sumeru in the Buddhist cosmology is supposed to be a center of the universe, the Buddhist universe, right? Huge. That's where the creatures dwell and habitat. Taking that and throwing that onto another land is still easy task. What's going on here? Okay, 3rd easy practice, to kick a great 1,000-fold world with the toe of the foot and launch it afar to another land would still not be difficult. I mean, I can't kick it away like a desk, which is my human body size. I mean, much less than that. Easy practice number 4, to stand in the summit of all existence and elucidate the countless other sutras for the sake of living beings would still not be difficult. These are 4 out of 9 easy practices. And next, first out of 6 difficult practices kicks in. But, okay, but what? Sutra says, sorry, I'm getting over some cold. In an evil age, after the Buddha's passing, to be able to teach this sutra would be something difficult indeed. Why? To teach this sutra, what does that mean? Let's read on. 5th difficult practice out of 9. Number 5, even if someone could grab hold of the sky, grab hold of the sky. Can you imagine sky out of your house? And carrying it 12 travel about, that would not yet be difficult. But difficult number 2 out of 6. After my passing, Shakyamuni's passing, to transcribe and embrace this sutra, or to have someone else transcribe it, would be something difficult indeed. Okay. Easy practice number 6, balance, to take the great earth, balance it on a toenail, and with it ascend to the Brahma heaven would not yet be difficult. Okay. I mean, kind of not okay. Difficult practice number 3, but But what? In naval age, after the Buddha's passing, to read this sutra for even a short while would be something difficult indeed. Difficult number 7, to shoulder a load of dry hay through the fire in a kalpa of destruction and keep it from burning would not yet be difficult. But difficult number 4, difficult practice number 4, but after my passing, to embrace this sutra and teach it to even one person would be something difficult indeed. Let's read on, just to finish that. Easy practice number 8. Someone might embrace the treasury of the 84,000 teachings of the 12 divisions of sutras elucidated to others and cause those who hear it to gain the 6 transcendent powers. Even being well be able to do so would not yet be difficult. But difficult number 5 out of 6. But after my passing, to hear and receive this sutra and inquire into its meaning would be something difficult indeed. Final easy practice number 9. Someone might teach the Dharma, to next page, 228, to thousands of millions of living beings, infinite and innumerable as the Ganges sands, and cause them to become arhats, one of the goals of spiritual practices in the Buddhist arhats, Shravaka's goal. Endowed with the 6 transcendent powers, even to confer such benefits as these would not yet be difficult. Okay, 6 difficult practice, but this is the final one. After my passing, to be able to uphold and embrace a sutra such as this would be something difficult indeed. How does it sound? How does this passage sound to you all? Do you find anything meaningful here?
I kind of do. I was thinking about everything you were saying. Of course, these are all metaphors, like from like ancient India, like the word kalpa means like an aeon. And they talk about the end of a kalpa, like the end of a kalpa in Indian cosmology is like basically everything burns up with fire, you know, like the whole universe just gets destroyed and then it gets recreated again. So it's really difficult to walk around with a piece of hay when everything is burning. So I think all of the metaphors are talking about not so much about just reading the sutra with your mouth or reciting it, but it's more so living it. And I think another context to this is that you know, whether it's true or not, people believe that this is mappo, like I know in Japanese, they say the word mappo, which means like the latter age, where almost like Kali Yuga in the Indian system, which people believe that we live in a negative age where there's a lot of degenerate or negative behaviors. So it'd be very difficult to uphold a sutra that talks about the dignity of life and the interconnectedness of all people and how everyone is a Buddha. It's very difficult to talk about something like that when the general theme of the age is materialism and dog-eat-dog world, and, you know, survival of the fittest, kind of the negative so-called Darwinism. So yeah, so I think that's what it's pointing to, the difficulty of how difficult it's going to be in the future for people to be able to share a teaching or a philosophy or a way of life that respects the dignity of each individual, that brings out the best in others. Because, I mean, the Buddha perhaps had an insight that people would become more materialistic, or they were becoming more materialistic in that time period, and that he knew the trend, because it's a kind of like a period of behaviors of people becoming more materialistic throughout history, where we kind of like went from being very spiritual or superstitious to extremely scientific, and then kind of like going back and forth. So I think just explaining the difficulty of practicing using all of these very somewhat Indian or Eastern kind of languages can kind of be confusing and make you think that, oh, if I read the sutra, then I must be doing something really hard. But I don't think that's what that means. I think it means that you have to be expressing its essence or its truth in your everyday life, because you can read, anyone can read a document or a doctrine or a spiritual text, but if you're reading it with your life, which means through your own experience, and you're viewing your experiences as like the Brahma heaven, you know, like say you're at a really powerful 500 fortune job or something, and you're working with the Kardashians, or you're a lawyer and you're dealing with Facebook and Zuckerberg, and this is like a metaphor for the Brahma heaven, you know, like you dealing with these really high executives who are in a really rapturous state of money and materialism. And so being able to express some sense of dignity or connection with a person in that environment would be preaching the sutra, would be reading the sutra with your life. It wouldn't necessarily be just chanting the sutra, because that would be on a superficial or the exoteric level. But on a deeper level, it would be embodying what the sutra is saying in your everyday life, seeing the Buddha. I guess my example would be today I was at work and it's like an audit at my job and everyone's going crazy. There's all this mayhem going on and a lot of negativity. And like all day I'm just trying to like stay grounded and not get swept up in it. And then there was an individual, she works on the medical side and people are like throwing all these expectations at her and us, but it's really, she's feeling pressure. And she walked in the room and for some reason I just something said, "Are you okay?" Like I just decided to ask her. And then she stopped and then she just started to regurgitate all of her problems and negativity. And when I was talking with her, she was like, "Well, I don't feel like I can take a day off. I feel like everyone needs me and I have to be here." And I was like, "Well, that's not true." I was like, "Because if you are not here, if you die, if you get sick," and she has lupus and she gets really, her immune system. And I remembered this, that she told me this. And I was like, "You really got to think about your health. Like this job is always going to be here, whether you're here or not. And it's more responsible to take care of yourself." And she was like, "Oh, people keep telling me this over and over again." And I kind of used the metaphor of the color purple. I don't know if you remember that part where there was a character named Shug and she kept saying like, "God is trying to tell you something," right? And I was like, well, maybe God is trying to tell you something. Like everyone keeps telling you to take a day off. And I just noticed, like, she talked to me for about 30, 40 minutes. And I was like, I really was like suggesting she take a day off because I do it all the time when I need a mental health day. And she said she hadn't taken a day off since she was in a hospital from a lupus attack. And I was like, well, you need to do it now. And so later on, it's funny, I looked at my emails maybe about 20 minutes ago and I saw that she took some time off. And I thought, I was like, wow. So had I not even asked the question of, "Are you okay?" or just acknowledging a feeling or a hunch I had, maybe she would have took the day off. I'm not trying to give myself credit here, but it was just nice to see that interconnectedness right there was like preaching the law or the teaching of Buddhism manifests in our everyday behavior. Just recognizing when someone is suffering or recognizing when they're overworked, even when you're overworked, could be beneficial, could actually help someone. So I just think it's like acknowledging her Buddha nature, acknowledging that she is a Buddha, even if she may not be manifesting that, but she has the potential, just like I do. So acknowledging that potential and recognizing that, hey, you need to take care of yourself. That's what I feel like reading a sutra with your life is recognizing in that moment the importance of the person right in front of you, not necessarily an obscure text or spiritual rituals and things like that. Those are important because they help you to cultivate mindfulness or whatnot. But if that cultivation doesn't spill over or generalize into your everyday life, then it just becomes like doing jumping jacks and then you go and eat like a whole turkey or something, and you try to lose weight or something. I don't know. It's not logical. So, but yeah, so that's my 2 cents. Oops, sorry.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing those thoughts and stories. Wow. I see your hands up, Lynn. Go ahead.
I have a much more simplistic view of this. When it says that it's easier to kick a mountain or grab the sky, we're talking about impossibilities. Even if they're metaphor, they're impossibilities. And then they're saying after the Buddha has been extinguished, it's harder to do the impossible to actually live Buddhism. So that's how I interpreted the whole thing.
Would you say the possible point of showing the difficulty of doing the impossible according to your interpretation of this passage? What will be the further point of your point that you shared just now, if I may ask you?
I'm not sure what you mean. It's pointing out how difficult it is to live every moment. And that's the whole thing, to be in the moment, to be mindful, that is more difficult than the impossible. It probably is impossible for all of us, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try, because none of us are going to be perfect.
I see. Yeah, thank you for responding to my question. Okay, I see Chris hands up. Okay, so what Reggie and Lynn shared just now will be responded by founder Nirvana of Rissho Kosei-kai, a couple pages down. Chris?
I think an underlying theme here, it's not mentioned specifically, but when you look at the impossible tasks, and it kind of ties with what Reggie was saying on a different level, but you're looking at fear. You are legitimately looking at fear. It is by far your own personal fear is the most difficult thing that you can ever possibly overcome. You know, for you to embrace the sutra and for you to carry it out and expound it to other people is to step past your fear. So to literally do what, you know, the Buddha says is more difficult, the way I look at it, it's a matter of conquering your own fear. You know, yes, as Reg said, you can sit there and you can read this in your home and not do anything with it. You know, kind of, you know, ad-libbing there a little bit, but when you look at everything that he is saying would be difficult, if you can conquer yourself, they would no longer be difficult. So if you can conquer that fear of, you know, I mean, especially in today's day and age, you know, where you're more likely to get likes on Facebook off of, you know, posting a picture of a slice of pizza than you are discussing, you know, some kind of, you know, moral based situation. You know, and that's just one of those things. If you can conquer that and not live to other people's expectations, but live, you know, beyond your own fear and do what you know is right from, you know, point A to point B, then I think you've really started to embrace the true meaning of, you know, what the passages are about.
I see. Another excellent insight of yours. I see your hands up, Bill. Go ahead. Mr. Ziegler, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
It helps if I unmute myself before I start talking. Yeah, the comments kind of really reminded me of a conversation that Kyohei and I had recently, kind of about just Buddha nature being an act of revolution. Just kind of like the way our society is, how, you know, like Reggie said, it's dog eat dog out there. It's all about taking anything you can, and, you know, that, like, if you go to a sporting event, it's like people will step on their grandmother's throat to catch a free t-shirt. But like the Buddhism, the teachings of the Buddha is about compassion, and it's about, instead of meeting force with force. It's about meeting force with space. Kind of like the concepts of Aikido, where you use your opponent's force against them. And so, Kyohei and I had this conversation, like in a world that is dog eat dog, that it's about getting everything you can, about caring only about yourself, how if you are compassionate, if you do care about other people, and that's an act of revolution, because it goes against what society is promoting and what popular culture is promoting. And while we were reading the Lotus Sutra, and they were talking about how these impossible tasks are easier than living a Buddhist lifestyle and sharing the Lotus Sutra, I was thinking about V for Vendetta, where a real fun movie. I haven't read the graphic novel, but the concept of it, if you don't know, is the Anglican Church in England basically became all powerful and outlawed any other type of belief system. One of the characters had a Quran in a hidden room in his home, and he was put to death because he had a Quran. He couldn't even read it. He just had a Quran because he wanted to save it. So, I'm thinking about a world where, rampant materialism, just capitalism run amok, where like to practice Buddhism could be lethal. You could be imprisoned because you're teaching compassion, because you're being compassionate, because you're teaching a different way, when an authoritarian state is saying you must believe or you must think one way and you think another. So those are my thoughts on it.
A lot of meaningful parts we are arranging in a table of conversation. Very rich, very rich. Yes, Lynn?
I sort of take exception to say that the entire world is corrupt, because I think my feeling is that the majority of people, they care about their family, they care about their community, whatever part they are. But I think that it is a small elite that are running us, that are greedier and less compassionate. I do have trouble painting the whole humankind as being not compassionate, because there are, I think, a lot of people that are.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, this Bill Lynn conversation is excellent. Touching on the very spiritually sort of juicy part of our Buddhist learning and practice. So this is definitely a challenge when we encounter. I mean, it's very easy to demonize the political figures and so on. I mean, it's perhaps demon should be demonized, should be accused. But at the same time, rather than just accusing or blaming someone for some casualties around the world, our goal is how to see a different way of find a different way of seeing that same situation at the same time. Like demonizing others, excluding others is one forceful way, but Bill was suggesting was, well, the Buddhism philosophy is not to meet force with force, but he said force with space, like Aikido thing. Sort of not adding, but removing something. If you read the 25th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, who appears in that chapter? Bodhisattva Kanno, Bodhisattva regarder of the cries of the world. regarder of the Christ of the world. Supposedly, oftentimes in the Chinese tradition, someone depicted as a female bodhisattva. So this talks about the represents the image of compassion, and compassion is composed of two words in Sanskrit. I forgot. If everybody, anyone recalls, let me know. The one is something like a sort of adding joy, like sort of that's an increase, right? Adding joy to the mind of sentient beings. And the other one is to removing the sorrow as a way of compassion. So compassion goes with giving joy and removing sorrow out of mind. If you think about contributing to the society, contribution to the world, perhaps in many situations, many of us, not everyone probably, tend to think that, okay, adding something more, contributing, getting more, increasing, perhaps tends to have prioritize, and has some seemingly more value. But Buddhism says, Buddhism says, wait. That's perhaps true, but at the same time, how about removing something, decreasing something, rather than trying to attain something in a new way, but rather how about starting from questioning the first place? What is the motivation for attaining something that you don't have right now? Let's look into your desire. Is that thing that you desire really what you want? Maybe not, maybe something different. And then you see more clearly your own desire and stop the search something different, or just be content as it is. Yes, Reggie?
What I kind of hear when you're saying there is you're talking about self-inquiry. And a lot of times in different traditions, we talk about Buddha nature, or awakened mind, or Buddha mind, the natural state, right? So our natural state, according to many traditions, including Buddhism, is enlightened, is awakened. But because our everyday lives are filled with stress, or they're filled with like learned behaviors that we've acquired from family, friends, and society, we experience this kind of like a block in a way. It's almost like a not being able to see things clearly. And I think like this whole chapter 11, I know I'm kind of circling back a little bit, trying to relate to what you were saying, is like that abundant treasure. It's like that stupa that's always inside of you. And like when you are able to expound the teaching of this sutra, that's when the treasure of your life or your light comes forth. So yeah, there is this evil age or a negative idea, which has always been around. If you look at every spiritual tradition, if you go back to the 1800s, there are many new Christian movements that had the belief that the world was going to end, and they would set a time for it. They would say, this is going to happen. Jesus is going to come back. And every tradition has their idea of the Messiah or the Savior. Buddhism has Maitreya, right? Like in 10,000 years, Maitreya is going to come back. But by that point, we're going to be all like blown up, right? And then the world's going to change again, right? So it's always this sense of destruction and recreation. And so there's always corruption. There's always leaders who are negative and leaders who are positive, and there's ordinary people who are good and maybe not aware that they are enabling evil or negativity. That's, instead of saying evil, negativity, because we're all being influenced by one another. Every day we influence each other, the news and how we approach each other. So I think what the Lotus Sutra is saying ultimately is that it's our perception. Like if you even think about different type, even within Buddhism, I know in the Lotus Sutra, they talk a lot about Pure Lands. This is something that's been kind of like popping up in my head recently and like a lot of people look at the Pure Land as being this place in the West that you go to when you die, kind of very similar to heaven in the Judeo-Christian belief system. But when the Lotus Sutra kind of flips it on its head in a sense, is that I know Nichiren says like there is no land in itself that is pure and impure in itself. It is the nature of our minds that make the land pure and impure. So if we're walking around thinking that the world is full of negativity, which it is, we're not denying the truth. But if our perception is that life sucks. It's doggy dog world. I've had conversations with people that say everything's bad. This is always bad. I hate this. I hate that. And so that the land is our environment, and about in our thoughts and our perception is like the shadow, like, and when we bend, the shadow bends with us. So whatever we do, the shadow emulates us, and the environment is like our shadow. And so in a way, like you can see, in order to really, I think, understand our mind, we can just look in our environments and how are we reacting to the environment, and how is the environment reacting to us? Because everything is all interconnected in that sense. So I think that's what the Lotus Sutra is trying to say in this chapter, and probably in every chapter in some way, that is the perception of the individual that shapes their land, and the land being their environment. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to have corrupt people or negative people, because in the Lotus Sutra, they have demons, they have all, dragons, and, like very dangerous demons that like eat flesh and rip people apart. And yet they're like practicing the Lotus Sutra, right? So it's like, what, So even in that sense, and those devilish or negative forces become protective forces or wholesome forces when we see them for what they really are. And they are just there to help us grow, not to become obstacles. They can become obstacles when we look at them as being others, othering them. They're over there, that group, that person, that coworker, that girl, that boy, whatever. And so I think that's what the Lotus Sutra is trying to teach us, is that when we do that, we disconnect, quote unquote, disconnect from our true self. We never really are disconnected, because the natural state is always there, but it's our perception that causes us to suffer. So I don't know if I went on a rant, but
Great.
feel like it was something there. I don't know.
Great. Yeah. So the overall underlying top theme that you shared just now is like the Buddha nature. That's a big topic in chapter 11 and other chapters as well. So how we see the Buddha nature of everyone, literally everyone, every creature, as religion was saying in the Lotus Sutra, and also some people who are demonized in our society that I don't like, that whom they don't like me. How can I see the Buddha nature of them? That the Buddhist practice kicks in Rissho Kosei-kai, right? So we always see the desire and intention of everyone from multiple angles. This kind of multi-perspectivalism is what the Lotus Sutra advocates, which helps us to broaden our perspectives. Oh, wait, when you understand somebody, in my case, like, what's the condition that compassion arises in our mind? To me, it's every time I see somebody's struggle, somebody's suffering, as soon as I see that, some sense of compassion arises in my mind. But until I see the struggle, some kind of struggle, suffering of the other, it's hard for me to the compassion to arise. So seeing the Buddha nature, seeing the suffering of others, which I believe starts with the seeing suffering of your own. If you get numb to your own suffering, that really numbs your radar of compassion, that allows you to see the need of help out of you in the minds of others. So let's continue our conversation, and let's get to the reading, page 20. Founder Rissho Kosei-kai, Reverend Kyodavano, says this. So what are these, the 6 difficulties and 9 easy practices really boil down to? He says this. At the bottom of page 20, here the doctrine of 6 difficulties and 9 easy practices finishes. Even though the next page 21, even though the Buddha says that, just 2 paragraphs, that says that these things are extremely difficult, we must not lose heart. Sort of circling back to what Aline was saying earlier, and others too. It's difficult to live in the moment, fully in the present, as opposed to being distracted by the anxiety for the future or regrets in the past and so on. So the difficulty does not mean you cannot do it. Even difficulty, well, so let's cooperate one another and conquer the fear. As Chris was saying, I mean, the conquering your own fear, it really resonated with me personally, as Chris was saying. Like, I tend to be able not to say no to others. Somebody asks me to do something, I'm like, yes, my fear is this. I don't want to be disliked by somebody, anybody. I want to be a nice guy. That's a self-image, self-identity that I want to, that was clinging to for many years. But Buddhism helped me to realize that's my problem, that's the fear. Every time I conquer that, I'm being more honest. And by saying no, I was afraid of being disliked. But by saying no more, being honest with whoever in front of me, I ended up unexpectedly being liked by people more. I mean, at this moment, being liked or being disliked doesn't matter much. John, you had hands up. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I think, was it like 3-4 sessions ago, we read a part where it was talking about basically if we all have Buddha nature and we're all moving towards that if we all have this, if we all are of the Buddha, why bother trying to make ourselves better? Why bother trying to, attain enlightenment? Well, this is like, it's like two ends of the spectrum here. It's like we've come full circle. So like, it's like we all have Buddha nature, and we should perfect that Buddha nature and try to better ourselves. And then the other side of that is like, if you take that to its logical conclusion, we'll never reach that. So why should we? And it's like, I'm just noticing the two ends of the spectrum here. It's like we've come to the other end of it.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you. Yes, Lynn. Lynn and Reggie. Lynn, go ahead.
We all have Buddha nature within us, but it has the seed, the good seeds need to be nurtured. And if they aren't, I had a Buddhist tell me we all had the potential to become Buddhas. And if we do not water the right seeds, we're not going to become Buddhas. So yes, the Buddha nature is within us, but it isn't developed to its potential in any way. We have to develop it.
Great. Reggie?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on what you said, Kyohei, because that was exactly what I was telling my coworker today. And it's really like, I think in a culture where we value ourselves, maybe on the outside, our appearance, we talk about weight gain and exercise and eating healthy. Those things are all great. Those are wonderful things. But I feel like we don't value ourselves as in like our ability to have boundaries. You can have a connection with other people and you want to please others. And I've struggled with that too. And then what I started to learn is that there is a boundary to how we should express our compassion. Compassion is boundless, but we also are in a bound flesh where, the boundless is within the boundaries. So kind of like what John was saying about how, the paradox of life is that we are boundless, we're infinite, but yet we're in a body. And so to respect that boundary with other people and to say no, to have that autonomy is really important. And Lynn, you also made, yes, it begins and ends with ourselves. And Lynn made a comment about the seeds of Buddhahood. And I know that's mentioned in the Lotus Sutra. And they call them enchantikas, or people of incorrigible disbelief, right? So people would just be like, no, there's no such thing as happiness or no world peace or happiness. Buddha nature doesn't exist, right? And so there's a way we can't scorch these seeds of Buddhahood. But even those scorched seeds, and it talks about, I think in the Devadatta chapter, that even those scorched seeds of Buddhahood, it might take a long time to regerminate, but it's going to happen. Everyone is going to eventually become a Buddha. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen in like a day, but the eventuality of everyone, because we all have the natural state. The only thing that's blocking our natural state is our conditioned mind from our society, from our families, from our past actions and intentions on a daily basis. And really, it's really as simple as letting go, like you were mentioning before, letting go instead of trying to gain enlightenment. Enlightenment is not gaining a certificate. It's not gaining a new profession. It's not gaining something. It's actually losing everything. It's letting go, because at some point we all have to do this. I feel like Buddhism is a training to let go, which is the ultimate let go, which is death, actually. I mean, it's really a training ground, because every day in every way, we're gonna change no matter what. No matter how much we hold on to how we look, how we feel, eventually we have to let go of everything. And I mean, not just some stuff, everything. And so if you have that understanding that at one point, I know it can be kind of scary to think about, but it also can make you feel very joyous, because you're like, wow, this moment is so precious. Like, I will never see you all in this same way again, ever, no matter what. No matter if I see you again tomorrow on Zoom, it'll never be exactly the same. So it's really a powerful statement in Buddhism, I think, and just all spiritual paths that converge with this same idea of the importance of the moment, and that the natural state is not something that we need to attain. It's something that we possess. It's merely a wiping away of the raindrops so we can see things clearly. Like Tina Turner said, I love that scene from that movie, What's Love Got to Do with It, when she was chanting Daimoku, and her friend said something really powerful, and it always sticks with me. And it said, when you are able to see your life clearly, you can change anything. And so if you're able to see things clearly, you can see the Buddha nature in everything. But that takes time. You got to polish the mirror. How do you do that? There's a whole bunch of ways to do it. But I think it's important to realize and recognize that you are worthy of respect. You deserve boundaries. You can say no. You can say yes. You can participate in things without feeling guilt. And I think that's also honoring and watering the seeds of Buddhahood. Is not being selfish. It's just being compassionate to yourself. But that's where it starts.
Yeah, that's what the Bill is saying in the Zoom chat as well. Right, Reggie? And also the being able to see my own growth is the joyful aspect of my Buddhist practice and learning, for instance. Yeah, I agree with you, Bill. Right. Wonderful. Excellent. So we have 8 minutes more. So let's read on, maybe finishing this paragraph and finishing the chapter in next meeting. We must understand his words as a teaching given to harden our resolve and arouse courage within us. Courage, going back to Chris Ryan phrase, fear. Avoiding these things because of the difficulty indicates a weak spirit. What does he mean by weak spirit? Since the Lotus Sutra is strong teaching, awakening the eyes of humankind to the truth and encouraging people to undertake the great task of building the ideal realm of peace in this world, weak-spirited people cannot possibly receive and keep it. All the same, there should be no misunderstanding of what I mean by a weak-spirited person. Like he's talking about, what did he say? A weak-spirited person is one who prays to some image for happiness, thinking that such things can be easily achieved. However strong such people may look, it is only an appearance. They are weak because they have lost their courage to seek the true teaching and have succumbed to idolatry. Next paragraph, which is the final paragraph. A true Buddhist may appear gentle and mild, even weak, but inside he or she cherishes an ardent determination to learn and practice the Buddha Dharma. This has been a characteristic of Buddhists since the time of Shakyamuni. We must not forget this. At present, we are studying this sutra, receiving it in faith, practicing it, and preaching it to others as the days go by. We have gained a hold on one end of the difficult things and are maintaining our grip tenaciously. This proves that we can accomplish difficult things. I hope you will encourage one another as you strive in your sacred task. And if you have a chance, I recommend that you also read the chapter, page 23. Yeah, maybe you can read that on your own after the meeting. Any other final comments, questions, thoughts before we close in 6 minutes? You can say, or you can type it up. Yes, go ahead, Jay.
So of course I'm thinking literally. So the when they're saying balancing the earth on your toenail is easier than expounding the sutra or something like that, since the sutra is for everyone, maybe that is speaking to like gods that already, like, that is easy for them to do or something, but the sutra is not easy. I always like to think outside the box. So that's what I've been thinking about. Like, oh, well, maybe who's to say the gods aren't reading the Lotus Sutra and it's easy for them to do all of these tasks? I don't know, but I just wanted to say that. And I appreciate everybody's comments tonight. I'm really glad I came. So thank you.
You know, Jen, I think you have a point there, though. I mean, because we always gloss over the fact that they always talk about heavenly beings and the devas and the dragons being there. Who knows what they can do?
Wow, I never thought about that, but that really makes sense. Look at the page 35 of the Lotus Sutra, barely in the first page of the Lotus Sutra, 34 Lotus Sutra, right? Who are in the audience? You say many creatures. The page, second page, maybe. Yeah, there are like a bodhisattva, a bunch of them, heavenly children at the same time. Page 36. Among the audience is the Lotus Sutra is Shakrodevana Mindraha, one of the heavenly gods in the gods of all gods in the heavenly realm, which is a guardian in Buddhism, was there with his retinue, 20,000 heavenly children. Oh my Buddha, right? In addition, there are heavenly child, excellent moon, heavenly child, the universal fragrance, heavenly child, precious light, and the four great heavenly kings with their retinues of 10,000 heavenly children. So Shakyamuni is thoughtful to be able to make sure to communicate with everyone in the audience. That's why a human sentient being, unenlightened, I mean, from the Buddha's perspective, which is my future, I mean, already enlightened, doesn't make sense. Oh my gosh, I cannot, kick out my computer. I mean, I wouldn't. This is pricey, more than $50 or something, a little more. But tipping a toenail, throwing the Mount Simmer and so on, easy for these Shakrodevana Mindraha, for instance. That's what Jay was saying. That's a new reading of the Lotus Sutra. Wow. That's what I love about conversing with you all. Every time I have a conversation with you, really opens up something new kind of possibilities. Bill, go ahead, take it away.
I really like that thought, and I was just kind of reminded or thinking that being reincarnated as a heavenly being is a possibility for us. So, maybe we can get reincarnated as a heavenly being and then kick the world around like a soccer ball.
You're right. If you look at the, I can send you all maybe at some point in the chart, the heavenly beings included in the cycle of rebirth in the Buddhist cosmology, not only humans, not only animals and other creatures and so on. So I have a question to Bill. Did you enjoy the session tonight? If you did, how did you enjoy the session tonight?
I enjoyed the session immensely. I really enjoy the conversations that we have, everyone's different perspectives. We don't always agree with each other. And I think that's wonderful that we are accepting of everyone else's opinions and are free to express disagreement with each other and each other's viewpoints while still respecting them and being like, I disagree with your opinion. Here's what I think. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. This is my thoughts versus your thoughts. But I have really enjoyed the conversation tonight.
Would it be fair that with your beautiful notes that you shared just now is the answer to your original question that you posed in the beginning of this meeting? What was the question? What is the merit, spiritual merit, that is used in Rissho Kosei-kai in Buddhism? What do you think, Bill?
I'm still kind of grasping at that question. Like I said at the beginning, like if someone was to ask me, like, what y'all mean by this merit? And I'd probably have a really hard time trying to explain it to them. I kind of, like I said, I kind of grasp it as on a very abstract level, but getting more concrete on just what is meant by merits and sharing these merits and gaining these merits. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like okay, it's good karma, but I'm really not quite comfortable with that description.
I see. Thank you. Okay, so twofold. One is that I would like personally would like to say, if you're interested in knowing and pacing, if you're interested in the merit that we're talking about in Rissho Kosei-kai, join our conversation. That's one thing. And the other thing, if you say that, well, but why? That's the point that we need to communicate with others, or friends and families and colleagues and so on in our world. So it's an open question. I would love to hear in the next meeting, perhaps, or I can launch some I don't know, like a Google document conversation panel or something, so that how can we communicate to bring in more people into our conversation. I would say the merit that we are talking about boils down to this: truly accepting, truly recognizing who you are and accepting that as your own truth. It sort of opens up one of the cans. What is it? Can of worms? Worm of cans. I see Lynn hands up. With her note, let's end the conversation. It's already 8:05. Conversation, the last couple sessions have been great. Chris, thank you. You have been, without you, this wouldn't be happening. Do you see that? So I highly hope that you will recover soon with the 100% normal back on your beautiful voice. And I mean, your overcoming cold voice was beautiful as well. But in the next meeting, I hope you're better with the furnace fixed as well. Yes, Lynn?
I had a trouble with merits too, because, and I know that many others were raised Catholic, and I equated it to indulgences. But now I look at it that as merits are a step to my enlightenment instead of indulgence. Indulgences are things that you build up to help you get out of where they used to have purgatory before you went to heaven. And that's what I equated them to. And I'd be curious whether the other people that were raised Catholic felt the same way. But now I look at it as merits are things that help me become enlightened.
Thank you, Lynn. And I also like what Reggie put in the chat, spiritual brownie points.
Could you say a little bit? Okay, it's already 2:05. If you have to go, thank you for coming today. But could you explain what the spiritual brownie? I mean, Bill does a lot of,
I was being sarcastic, but kind of along with line what Lynn said. Merit is a development of developing the mind, or developing the self, or your being, and doing things that are beneficial to not just yourself but others. Developing the qualities of the Buddha, the features of the Buddha in our everyday life, or enlightened qualities, in just through helping others. Because if there's merit, there's also demerit. So you got to remember that. So if you have meritorious acts, there's also demerits. So when you do negative stuff, there's always going to be some negativity, right? So it's cause and effect. Merit is not magical. It's not like, I pray to this God every day and I'm going to get this power to do the right thing, but then I go out and I curse everyone out and I treat people like crap. You're creating demerit, right? You're creating negative causes or negative consequences through your behavior. So merit, in a sense, is your natural result of your behavior on a daily basis. So if you're reading a sutra and you're really reading it and you're trying to integrate it in your life, and you go out into the world, when you say, may these merits extend universally to all, we're not just going like, okay, maybe since I read this, may the merit of what I say go out in the world. That's a superficial way of looking at it. But another way of looking at it, I remember Kyohei, I said this, I sent you a text the other day, and it was something about, I was meditating after, sometimes I try to meditate after chanting or recitation, and it was like something came up about Bodhisattva Kanan. And I can't remember exactly. I'm gonna try to quickly look at the text message I sent you in the morning, because it was really funny. Not funny, but it was interesting. It's kind of about merit, because we generate merit through our action every day. Oh man, I can't find your number now. It's too many phone calls in here. But here it is. Okay, so I said something in the morning to you. Okay, there we go. It's like, because there was a part of the Bodhisattva Kanan chapter, and it said, it was talking about being a boundless ocean of blessings for other people. And for some reason, I heard the word, within me lies a boundless ocean of blessings. Humbly let me share it with others. So it's like, you know, instead of saying the merit is out there, it's automatic in here. So you're making a vow to share what you've cultivated in your meditation with others. Not just, and you know, and Buddhism does believe in unseen beings and stuff. According to some, like when you're reciting, there's some ghosts in your house or spirit being listening to you too. I mean, if you want to get literal there, but on a deeper level, other than that level, it's more so like you're expressing the merit into the world for what you just recited. Those words, the sutra becomes alive because you're a living being. It becomes real. You're reenacting it. Like when you are reciting a sutra, you're actually there. So I remember hearing someone say, instead of saying, when I attain Buddhahood, you're actually talking about yourself. So when you're doing that, you're directing all this light to all the Buddha lands and all this stuff, right? So if you read it that way, then it is meritorious. You know, if you read it on the superficial level, which blah, 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 Hail Mary, blah, 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 let it go, blah, blah, blah. And you're just saying 5 Hail Marys and you just go out. And not to say that's a bad thing, but if you're just doing it out of a ritual, then it's demeritorious. It's not meritorious. When you're doing it from a space of, I really want to be a vessel of the truth, of the Dharma right now. Like if you could just set that intention, I guess, before you meditate or chant, it just becomes so real that it's not just something that someone told you to do. It just becomes real. And it is meritorious. Everything you do after that becomes meritorious, even if it's something negative you learn from it, you know? So I don't know. That's how I look at merit.
With that note, is there anyone who has a burning question or comment?
I was just going to thank
Go ahead.
everyone for the great breakdown of the concept of meritorious actions and merit. I've got another analogy, but we are way over time already, so maybe I'll share it next time.
Okay, so next time we're gonna finish up the chapter 11 of the Lotus Sutra, 1 or 2 pages more left, and let's talk about this merit thing. I open up the document and share that with you all, and feel free to type your thoughts into that as I started of a conversation, another action conversation. One question for you, 2 questions. I mean, 1 announcement, 2 questions. So in a Zoom chat, I sent the link to the PayPal donation. If you wish to make a donation to Rissho Kosei-kai Chicago, please know that you can do so through this link. And the other thing is that for the, I really would like to, you know, bring in more people into this conversation today. Stephanie and Eli joined us today, and then thank you for being with us. And how about spreading the words more? And would anyone feel comfortable or uncomfortable like sharing if I upload this conversation into YouTube through my channel? How do you feel?
I'm all for it, man. Do it.
Okay.
You have my consent.
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay. If not, please let me know. Email me. If you know, please email me and let me know by the end of this week. Yeah, and then I'll if there's anyone who would like to, you know, not to be, you know, this to be in the public, let me know. Okay. And I will not to publish that. Rissho Kosei-kai Shiga Buddhist non. Oh, thank you, Koji, for the explanation. I don't remember what it was called. Did you
That was
ever see-
the Amazon thing that someone suggested a couple of months ago.
Oh, the Amazon affiliate program. I think
Right.
we should working on it. But thank you for the reminder. That's an excellent, powerful tool. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for your very time today. And could Eli, when you have a time, perhaps could you remind me and type up the island, the name of the island. I wanna see more connection between us. Island that you live in, the place you live in Canada. I've only been to Vancouver, and Vancouver has a Rissho Kosei-kai branch, but you're on the East Coast, I heard from Stephanie. So if you feel comfortable sharing the name. Oh, thank you. It's Prince Edward Island. Okay, thank you. More conversation to come. Let me look it up online and know more about your living environment, and I get to know. We're looking forward to how that was for you, and looking forward to know more about you, and with Stephanie and with others, and in the next conversation as well, if you're available. My only connection to Canada is Letter Kenny. My only connection to Canada is Letter Kenny.
It's a TV show. Don't ask.
Thank you. I'm tired for my nervous about my dissertation writing at the University of Chicago Divinity School. So I'll check that out. Hopefully that helps me to alleviate my tenseness. Paying for your success.
If you don't mind some mildly
thank you,
inappropriate humor, it's definitely worth your time.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. Okay. With that note, thank you, everybody. See you all in 2 weeks or on Sunday service. Let's get back to Koji for closing.